Well, when you go out on a 30-day patrol, you run out of quarters unless you can get them in recirculate.
But there are screwdrivers.
Well,
We got in.
we got in, and we recirculated them, and he couldn't believe the thousands of dollars that went through that machine on a patrol.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know, you get a crew of 150 people, one Space Invaders game, and, oh, jeez.
Dick, you have Stacy on, so just so you know, she's here.
Stacy?
Hi, Stacy.
Hello.
So, we still got quite a bit of time before
That
7
clock
o'clock.
is not right, Dick, it's 7 o'clock.
Oh, the clock ain't right that I was looking at.
I make a motion, we buy a good clock.
Or maybe a
We said
I
it.
don't think the budget committee has authority over that, unfortunately.
Judy's here, she can buy a new, she can get it
We
fixed.
just need a battery.
All right, batteries are within the realm of
Even the town's
affordable.
budget.
All right, we will declare it 7 o'clock Apple time
Okay.
and call the meeting to order. And we do have a quorum. So the first order of business is the minutes of November 5th. Do I hear a motion and then any changes or amendments?
I'll move them.
I second.
Jen move?
Bill second.
Bill.
Any changes, amendments, or corrections? Hearing number, Jordan, you survived another week.
You're
All
in deep
those in
trouble if
favor
you're
say
okay now.
aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained?
One abstention.
All right, before we get into the selectmen's budget, what, this meeting is a presentation of the selectmen's basically operating budget. I don't think she has anything much to say, if anything, about the proposed warrant articles and capital budget at this point in time. All right. I would like to be able to get through it so we don't have to meet next week. I think all of us would like a couple of weeks off. And then we start on the school. So, let's not try to, wander off in comparison of fire station budgets or et cetera at this point in time.
I will do that.
The
in
benefit
November.
of 2 versus 1 billing a year for taxes. Those are things, we can look at them, get at them at some point in time. We will come back to the operating budget after we see what the capital budget is, and before we vote on anything, we will be able to see the total budget. That's how we've done it in the past, I hope. Judy?
Thank you. I wanted to start with just a recap of, I would say, the last 9 years, maybe 8 years. The select board has tried really, really hard to keep costs down because school costs were going up. We were trying to sort of have a level playing field. And one of the ways we did that, as our trustees will vouch for, we didn't put enough money into the capital reserve funds. Just before warned, we're going to have to put more money in because we have more vehicles that we're going to have to buy and other repairs and equipment. But this budget, the 3 board members felt very strongly that we needed to take care of the volunteers in town, maybe not as well as they would like, but we'd have to have a discussion at a future time about that issue. And to take care of our employees who all work very hard, not always under the happiest of circumstances. And so we pretty generally, in 1 or 2 exceptions, come out with a 5% raise for everyone. The last I checked, which was in October, the CPI was already up to 3.6%.
It's down to 2.7 now.
Well, I suspect it's gonna keep going up, because if you've been to the grocery store in the last month,
Just don't buy beef.
a bag of groceries is now about $100, and it's, you know, it's difficult, we all know that. And so I'm just saying that the reason some things have been underfunded was intentional, and we knew that this would be the year that we would have to tackle that. On the budget itself, the bottom line is a 5.06 increase. And going through, I'll go through very quickly, and then you guys can go through and pick what you want. But basically, the first big difference change comes at planning and zoning. It's a tiny change from what the department requested to what the board did, was a 4.1% increase.
Will you give us page numbers, please?
That's page 3, that should be around,
83.
line,
93 is the total.
okay.
Yeah,
The-
4.1%.
We reduced the ZBA recorder and the advertising budgets, that was all that we did there. Then moving again to another one, a recommendation that was page 4, perpetual sexton stipend for the cemeteries. The typical amount that person has earned is $4,200, the request was $6,000. Typically, we like to step things up a more gradual way, so we've projected that at $5,000. It's a pretty good raise, but it's not huge. There is more time being spent by the individual that's the sexton now, and that's a 15.9% increase in the cemetery line.
Oh, but the cemetery line has increased because of the mowing too, don't forget.
Yes, the mowing also did go up, yes. Thank you, Dina. Let's turn to page 5 and talk about the fire department. Line 156 through 175. A jump, last year voted at town meeting, $7,500 for administration. Department request was $20,000. The board felt $10,000 was a good amount, more than we usually do when we try and step people up, but it rewards the work they're doing. Line 162, the chief's salary. The chief himself developing this put in $20,000, which is what last year was voted. We heard from one member that they would like to pay him $40,000. The board felt $27,500 was a good step up, knowing that in the future that's going to have to increase more. The line 168, radio repairs. They asked for $13,500. The board put it at $2,000 because $11,500 of that $13,500 is actually going to go on a warrant article. It is for a particular kind of radio, so the fire department guys can speak to each other if they're responding to something at the school. And it's not that we didn't think they needed their radios, it was just not in the right place.
Now, that includes both police and the school on that new frequency, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I believe it does.
Yes.
So that we basically, the three entities can now, could communicate once that's done.
If God forbid it's necessary.
And there's nothing in the school budget to do it, it's all in the town budget, is that correct?
Correct, because the school just got our system up and running with the new radios that are working really well.
So we should be.
But they can't talk to the fire department.
We should be prepared to address that when the warrant article comes up.
Turning to page 6, highways and streets. We've given the highway agent a little bump up. This past year, his stipend was $4,000. The department asked for $5,000. The board felt he should have $6,500. He puts in an awful lot of extra time, and he's been taking pretty good care of our highways and the department. He asked for 5% raise for his people, and we were in accord with that. He said he wants to keep them, and the neighboring towns pay a little better wage than what we're paying right now, so this effort is to keep the guys that we have.
Question.
Yes, sir.
We went through this a good number of years ago, and the biggest problem is that we were just looking at their hourly pay. And the benefit packages from town to town are quite radically different.
True.
And we were much better benefits than the surrounding people, even though the hourly pay was less. So I think we have to look at the total of the two elements
Yeah,
when we're
right
comparing
now,
town A to B.
right now, our benefits are pretty much on par with most of the surrounding towns, and individual employees now pay a portion of their benefits. So I think we've balanced that out, Dick,
Yeah.
but that's a good point. Also, as you go down, I'm not gonna point them out to you, but materials are more, culverts are more, crushed stone is more. At the bottom line, it's a 7.6% increase for highways and streets. And then if you add in the winter payroll and contracted services, at the end of the day, 4.1% for both regular and winter.
Let me ask a question at this point. Roadside mowing,
It's in here.
all right, it's in here.
Well, it's 6.3%
Yeah.
on ours, it's 4.1 for
Oh,
winter.
you know, you're right,
Good,
thank
right.
you. I
And the
knew
road
matters.
Yeah,
somebody-
roadside mowing is
that was
bumping it up,
Dina's
that's a
job
big
to
chunk.
correct me.
Sorry, I should have highlighted it.
I gave you the wrong,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's 6.3 for both of them. I'm just tad nervous.
Well, the big jump in the main part is the roadside mowing,
Right.
which we do every other year now instead of every year. We didn't do it this last year.
We know that solid waste is, we've heard from Lebanon, things are gonna cost more to be disposed of there, and also our haul charges will be more. That's, okay, I'm not reading the right one, 16.4% increase. And 16.5, those two, solid waste and collection and disposal. Then, our other little bit of controversy, I think, still on page 7, down at the bottom, the health agencies. The VNA, we kept the same. Headrest, we put a 0 in, they have not contacted us, we've contacted them several times, requested to know, we never heard a return thing, so at least at this point, that's a 0. West Central Behavioral, 2315, 600 for WISE. And we do know, I think you all got the letters from these folks. They all do see Lyme residents, so they are using or catering to taking care of our folks. CASA is the court-appointed advocates, 500. Tri-county cap, the same as it has been, 3,490. The Public Health Council of the Upper Valley, which was Mascoma Valley Health, we've traditionally paid them 1,309. We went with that instead of increasing it. We're not really sure if we know they serve at least 1 or 2 individuals, but that may be all, and it could
Well, you
be
know my opinion.
overlap. And Lyme Parish Nurse, traditionally we have spent, since this was established, $7,000 to help with that. They requested 14,000. We really do not feel, for several reasons, that that's not appropriate, and it's not really a town function. We'd like to support them, but we went back to the 7,000.
Well, I think we have to approach the thing with the nurses. We have an issue because it's affiliated with the church, and that becomes a problem for some people. And the second thing is, the people that really support that as a agency, if you wanna call them that, there's the opportunity to voluntary contributions. And they're gonna get there rather than disappear into the ether, as if you gave something to Dartmouth Health. You know, none of us can give enough have any impact on Dartmouth Health. But we can give enough to have an impact on the parish nurse. And that would be my comment.
Overseer Public Welfare has remained the same, that's on page 8 in the middle. Parks and Recreation, done something a little bit different this year. And that also had an increase because they do have mowing there, which that mowing contract did go up. But this year with the lifeguards, who were very capable, we didn't need to have we didn't have a monitor because no one was hired.
We had a monitor for 2 days.
Thank you,
Well,
Dana.
good 2 days.
Yeah, he loved it, but he had to leave, go take a class.
So, we zeroed out that line, and we had a 2.9% increase, for basically the recreation. The library was pretty self-explanatory. And I got, I think, it's the last page, page 10. A $151,886.16 increase, which is 5.06. And I'm happy to answer, I know I went through quickly, most of the increases are materials, supplies, and salaries.
My question, just will answer some, because the page falls for it, is the number of FTEs. All right, in the selectman's office, and then we've gotten the town clerk.
We've got
Do you want me to answer, because it's a little tricky? It looks like it's a bigger raise from last year. Number one, because the position we haven't filled yet was only in there for 6 months last year. It's in there for 12 months this year.
So we're going from 1.5 to 2
We're going
FTEs?
from, we have 2 full-time
again,
and 1 20-hour, 1 half-time,
that's the new position.
correct?
And the 20 hour is the difference.
Yes. For 12 months. Last year it was only for 6 months. And then the town clerk is 1 full-time, 1 12-hour, and 1 16-hour.
15 or 16?
16.
16. Now, currently, she doesn't have anybody to fill those part-time positions, does she?
No,
Tina, could you give the
She's
town
okay.
clerk again for a minute?
she's full-time. The town clerk is
One
36
full-time,
hours, 36 hours, yep. And then there's a 12-hour position and a 16-hour position.
Thank
And
you.
the 16-hour one is joined with the 20-hour one
To make
in
it
our
fair.
office.
So that means that gets,
Benefits.
gets benefits.
And that's why the benefits are in, right, the town clerks.
And then we have David,
And then we have David full-time, yep,
Well, I was planning, he's in planning and zoning,
Right.
that's no change.
right?
right.
That was one of my questions. And the other question I have is, what are we gonna do about the fire department? Because it's, I think is going to be the kind of thing that's gonna lead to quite a bit of discussion on the floor. And the problem is, once it gets on the floor, you lose complete control of it, for lack of a better way of wording it. So therefore, sometimes it's politically expedient to come closer to what they want, though that's a huge increase, of basically doubling it in your proposal over the previous year's budget.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's enough, so that we're not gonna get floor amendments going after that extra 20,000?
We might, I did talk with the fire chief, I didn't talk, we texted back and forth this morning, and he seemed amenable to it. He said he would talk to the guys, because it concerns all of them, and see if they could work with that. So, and nobody's here, but it was short, we made a decision yesterday at like 1:30 in the afternoon, and I texted him this morning, so I'm not surprised nobody's here, it's kind of a quick turnaround.
I've opened my mouth about my areas of concern. Let's go around and give everybody a chance to, if they have area they wanna discuss. And why don't we start with Bill down here?
One of the numbers that I don't think we had much discussion was legal. And
Oh.
that's one of the ones that, on a percentage basis,
Yep.
has gone up quite a bit. I guess I'd be interested
I
in
would be
hearing
happy to explain.
how you plan to spend that money.
Well, I would love not to have
I
to
know
spend
you
that
would.
money, but we have currently 7 court cases pending. And they take a lot of time, and counsel spends a lot of time, even if it's not in the actual courtroom. And we felt that it was prudent to, put in extra money so that we could pay our legal bills. And we do consult with them quite frequently. Things have gotten more litigious and more complicated, where you thought you knew what was happening. You don't always know, and you don't know the intricacies of some of the laws. So it's, we didn't like putting that number in, I think we went to 70 or 75.
75.
Yep, there it
Went
is.
to 31.7 for the new one. No, the wrong one, 75.
75, yep.
Now, are these tax appeal cases or are they other cases?
I think 6 have to do with
6 are
assessment
abatements
issues.
that have, assessment issues that have been are going directly to court.
And
Oh,
one,
not to the
They're
Board
not
of
going to the
Independent.
BTLA, no, they're going directly to the.
and one other one that is a continuing legal case.
Does that have anything to do with
So
the
these
property
are all
on
in district
Dorchester?
court.
I mean, I think it would be worth maybe like talking about that, because we raised $150,000 at town meeting to have that area cleaned up. And part of that conversation included some justification for spending the money, because it was thought that we had talked to council, and we were sure that we, as a town, I didn't have anything to do with it, but that as a town, we had a right, to do that, and that we were just gonna help clean it up. I don't know,
Well, I.
you know,
You-
I don't, you know, I have my
You do
own.
have a right, you were given the right by the judge, but when you have somebody who is fighting you all the way, you have no choice.
And
Yes.
we have succeeded in a good clearance at the Goose Pond Road property.
That looks a lot better.
It does.
Yeah, it
Looks
is a
great.
lot better. And then we know that the Dorchester Road property is still hanging out there. We've asked for permission to fly a zone over it so that we can basically make a map of what's there. And we can give that to the person who's going to be cleaning it up, so we can get a really good idea of what, we hope we know what the cost will be.
Mhm.
And we have rolled over the money that has not been spent, that we did get approved before. But Dorchester Road may be a really big unknown. It's a huge property.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's fine. I actually don't have an enormous problem with the mess personally. And so that's not really, more my focus is why did the select board feel so sure, or at least express some type of surety that we were gonna collect the money, that we could raise $150,000, and that legally it was going to be fine. And maybe it wasn't going to be necessarily easy to clean the area up, and there were still gonna be, but that we wouldn't be, my thinking back on how the conversation went, it has been 2 years, I'm surprised that 2 years later, we're still spending money on legal expenses and going to court, based on how it was portrayed at that meeting. And I guess that would be my issue. I don't actually care that it's not cleaned up.
Well, we're in the minority, sitting at many select board meetings with very angry people why aren't you doing anything? This was started 10 years ago, now it's like 13 years ago, the first court case, and it's been ongoing since then, and the town keeps getting approval, permission to clean it up, but every step we take, we find ourselves back in court, and it's,
That doesn't sound like approval to me. When you get approval, you go do it.
No, they,
no,
I'm
They sue you on
confused.
something
You know how
benefit.
legal,
No, I don't.
legal works. Okay,
Legal
well
work.
then,
Remember,
Sitting around.
yeah.
They have the right to,
we've been dealing with trying to clean up the Pike property, and I'm gonna use Pike property. Because that goes back to the sixties,
Yes.
on,
A
Goose Pond Road.
judge, we talked about this last year, a
Yeah.
judge ruled and says,
Yes.
go,
Right.
go,
Yeah.
you're in your right.
right.
We had hesitancy here to use town money to do it.
Boy, I understand that, we have several town, judge rulings giving us
Yeah.
permission. We have permission from the judge to go on the property. Every time we begin to do anything, we are met with very aggressive, angry property owners,
And court action.
and then taking us back to court, even though we've got the paperwork that says we have these rights. And it just swirls out of control.
So what's the tenor, what is the court case? Like, my understanding, and this is based on what I read in the paper, is that there's an attorney in Lebanon who decided to work, I assume pro bono, because he's probably, and I'm just assuming this, he's into your land rights. It's his
Sure.
land, and he gets to do what he wants with it. We're living free
Sure.
and not
Except there
dying
are
in New
state
Hampshire, right? So,
regulations and local regulations that prohibit certain uses of your land.
if those regulations are legal to enforce and enact, like, is that the question? Like, is that what this attorney is challenging the town Lyme about?
But didn't,
Right.
if the judge ruled that the
Mhm.
town can clean up, whether all of us agree or disagree on whether that's appropriate or not, there's a judge ruling.
Yes.
We own an expensive Volvo excavator that hasn't moved in a year, why don't we just do it? Like, what is stopping the town from actually, well, I don't know.
I don't know how to explain it to you, because.
Let's
what-
sell the excavator.
Because this is what happens,
We
is
don't-
the date is set, the
Yeah,
guy's ready to go, he's got his
Yeah.
equipment sitting there at the town garage, and the morning comes to do it, and he's met with a court document that says,
okay.
no, you can't do it.
I mean, I guess that's my
Then they have to
question.
go back to court.
Like, is this attorney, right, do you think he has the stake or the flag in the ground and he's gonna continue to fight this?
Yes.
Until we get to the Supreme Court? How much is that going to, cost? And do we care that much about this issue?
There are people that
You know?
care that much about it, very, very, very much.
Yeah.
I
And
have people that call me at least monthly, if not.
It's so surprising,
Closer.
I guess that's surprising to me,
Why
but I
hasn't
get it.
anything
one
happened?
of the things that kind of took me by surprise, and yet I've thought about it a lot, if this was a well-to-do person who was doing this, we'd go after them in a heartbeat. Why did we let this poor fellow do this? Why do we continue to indulge him? Why aren't we enforcing our regulations equally, no matter what your status is in the community? That said a lot to me, because I don't believe in overregulation, but if you have one, I think everybody has to be treated the same.
I mean, I guess I would just like to at least present something, maybe if it's possible, to the town about what is actually going on here, what the argument's really about, and how long this could potentially stretch out for. And I don't know how to do that. We had a warrant article-based vote to raise the money to clean it up. Can we have a warrant article-based vote to not necessarily raise money, but get a sense of, fundamentally, as a town, if this is going to cost, I don't know, to get to the Supreme Court, I just don't know. Maybe somebody could probably help us figure out what that would actually cost, at least in legal fees, not to mention the time it's taking probably out of the select boards and Dina's ability to work and how much time is being spent on that. I'm not sure that's necessarily quantifiable, but I don't,
But
you
I'm
know,
not
so, but
sure.
I just don't know, and it seems kind of,
I'm
I-
not sure that that's how you value doing the right thing. Oh, it's gonna take too long, or oh, it's gonna cost too much, or oh, I mean, it's just,
Well, the issue here is, it does not cost the Smiths anything, because the
Mhm.
attorney's working pro bono. And the only way to stop this is what Florida did, which make it two-way for payment. In other words, if you lose, you pay the
Both
winner's
sides.
legal costs. And that just shot the tort cases in Florida down to the point where people were getting 15% rebates on their insurance by just passing that as a state law. So that people like Jedediah would be caught paying the town's legal bills.
Which means you want.
well,
And that
which
is
means
what
that
happened.
you would never actually recoup that money anyway, so.
yeah, you'd have to
But-
take the property, and that's what he's concerned with.
Yeah,
He
But-
doesn't want
So-
the town
so
taking the
let-
property,
Look, folks,
and we
I've
don't want
been,
it.
I've been an expert witness in at least 100 court cases, maybe more. People can file injunctions about anything, and they do. And they have the force of law until a judge hears them and then says, no, go ahead to do this thing. And it's almost, you'll pardon my politics, but it's almost like Trump's legal procedure, which is you can stretch things out as long as you possibly can by motion after motion after motion. And you just gotta persist. There isn't much else we can do.
unless you can get the judge to dismiss the case with prejudice.
Right.
And the judges are not gonna dismiss the case with prejudice in a case like this, in all probability. It's very hard to get that kind of a judgment.
So could we perhaps bring this back to the budget committee? Jen asked the question, we're allocating or budgeting $75,000 this year. A question I had, I believe, in the $150,000 we raised a couple of years ago, half of that was for the actual cleanup, and there was a sizable portion of that allocated for legal fees. I think, Judy, I heard you say we've carried some of that forward,
We have done that.
and so,
We never allocated so much for the cleanup and so much for the legal,
okay, all right, I mean,
We still
that,
need
that
the
may
money.
be,
right?
so we have, so this, the $75,000 that we're asking for in this new year.
It's mostly to
Most
cover the
others.
6 other cases.
The other
Exactly,
cases.
because there's that
There is
money
some
rolled
money
over.
left
Okay.
there,
All right.
but we do anticipate there will be court costs there, and legal fees, but
Mhm.
yes, we do still have some money there, of course, we're
Okay.
also gonna need to pay the guy if we get to
Right.
have him come.
Okay,
Can you suggest to our attorney that the next time he goes in there, he tries to get it dismissed with prejudice?
I mean, I think they know what they're doing,
Yeah, I
right?
do.
well,
It's not that, I mean, part of the question is, you know, is it worth anything? I mean, and that's more of a
I'd like to speak to that.
ideological thing.
Bill?
Having served on the zoning board for, I don't know, 25 or 30 years, I'm not exactly sure. I'm not gonna spend another day on that if your sentiment prevails. I'm not gonna put the time in to defend an ordinance which clearly puts Jetty in the wrong.
Mhm.
If the sentiment is, oh, well, it's too expensive, then you have to go back to the planning board, get them to amend the ordinance and
Mhm.
take that out. Otherwise, there's no point in us meeting once a month or more often to hear special exceptions and variances.
Mhm.
There's no point in it, so please, don't go that way. Please.
The only way I see under New Hampshire law is to get a judgment with prejudice.
Well,
Well,
that's a tactical issue.
that is a
Right.
tactic,
Yeah.
That's-
and we
that's
are
really-
in constant touch with council, and believe you me, the 3 of us on the board would love to just find somebody to fly a drone over there, but that's a questionable legal tactic these days. We hear that maybe you're not allowed to do that on somebody else's property. although we believe we have been given permission to enter the property. And the last time with the Goose Pond Road one, we showed up, he was there, he was ripping mad. We had a policeman there, I got a call, we had to cancel, we had to send the guy, what's his name, Ben? Is his name Ben?
The
Who had
cleanup
come-
firm.
The cleanup person. We sent him home, he made a trip up here with all of his stuff and his workers. It was an unsafe place, and in fact, we were ready to arrest Jetty because of his behavior. It was totally out of control. We've got to go forward and we've got to keep going forward, otherwise, I agree with Bill, there's absolutely no sense in having a regulation. And there are also state regulations about what you do near waterways and agricultural fields and so on. So it's very difficult, and I'm sorry if I'm getting a little emotional, but this is my 7th or 8th year working on this. When I first came on the board this time, I said, why are we doing this? Let's leave the poor guy alone.
Yeah.
It just got worse. And we got more people coming to tell us how bad we were, how we needed to take care of this very unsafe problem. You know, if there was a fire call there, I'd be worried for the firemen. And
I would leave the road to find it. I'd let it go.
Oh,
So if, just to kind of get back to what we oversee as the budget committee.
Yeah.
Jen, I think, is pointing out the questions that you might get and the things that would
Yes.
be good to prepare for of what do we foresee? Does that come out of the 75,000 or is that coming out of the 150,000 we already voted for? And just being prepared for those questions.
Yep.
That would be more kind of, I mean, I don't want to rehash town meeting here, so.
No, I don't either, but, yeah, and, you know, people could cut down that budget, but remember, 6 court cases are not cheap.
Well, and you know, to the extent you have the ability to look in your crystal ball and say, this is obviously what we think, 6 court cases plus maybe anything else that comes out of the 7th that can't come out of that 150,000. I just, again, I find the questions useful to prepare for
Yes,
what other people are gonna ask you about later.
I am well aware of them, I go over them every night at about 3 AM.
3:30 for me, we should talk.
Dina's usually up earlier than that.
All I can say is I was warned before I ran for selectman by a person that had dealt with the Smiths for years on their property on Goose Pond Road, and warned me that it was gonna come to a head.
My other concern, Dick, is line 126, which is a sizable percentage increase.
On insurance?
Insurance, and I'm assuming that
Okay.
you've done the best you can, and this is one of those costs that.
Yeah, I actually had a long talk this week with them. The part of the increase is obviously because payroll has risen. But the larger part of it is because we were part of a, program called CAP. And it was a program that they offered to everyone. You had to meet certain criteria, each town, all that stuff. They've done away with that program this year. They don't know if they'll be able to bring it back or not. If they can bring it back, they're gonna try, but that's really where the big increase was from.
Is that like a group
The-
insurance
The
plan?
CAP, oh yeah, we're with Primex, it's a group, it's a municipal insurance. The CAP program, I just have to look at my little cheat sheet. The CAP program is, it has to do with, exposure damage, claim experience, all that, and it's called, the Contribution Assurance Program. So they kind of put everything together, and then everybody gets a little deal out of it, they get a little lower insurance. So that's gone this year.
And you had also explained to me that another reason that the insurance has gone up is we have more vehicles and they're more
equipment.
expensive vehicles,
That's the-
and equipment,
That's
yeah.
the biggest part, was the
Yeah.
property liability.
Right,
Right,
and that's gone up.
Well, and that's where the cap was, it was with the property liability part, so.
That's all I had, Dick, thank you.
Rich?
First off, Judy, I think you did a very nice job presenting the changes and the reason that you made your decisions. I have a question about the fire department, but I'm not gonna bring it up today.
Okay,
So, but, thank you for that presentation.
well, you're welcome.
Jen?
So, I don't know, I have a few questions, you know. One of my questions is about the fire department, and,
That's page 5.
yeah, it's not really a specific question. I mean, Aaron was pretty open about what he believes in the fact that this budget should be doubled relative to his request, right? And I don't know if that's true or not, but my sense is that he's probably not wrong, especially considering when we compare numbers, out the back of the envelope and without, you know, we didn't delve into them. You know, so I'm not sure, I kinda wanna see more money in the fire department. And I'd like to, I mean, I don't know what to suggest now, but I'd like to have more of a conversation about that. And then I was at the select board meeting on Tuesday on Zoom, and I felt a little disappointed that you did talk, that you guys did have a conversation about the chief's salary and the warrant article, but that no conversation was had about the fact that he said he thinks this should be double.
He didn't think his salary should be
No,
doubled.
he meant the whole budget, not his salary. Aaron didn't suggest, right, that his salary should
No.
necessarily be
Right.
doubled. That was Andy who came and
He
said,
did suggest that the administration one should be doubled, should be 20,000.
he thought we needed to have like $100,000 more in this budget. That's what I have in my notes. And he wasn't specific about where that money would go, but that the department has sort of been struggling for many years, and things are just, you know, he would like, and to be fair, I think, you know, I wanna be careful about how I say this, because I don't think that Mike Hensley and Mike Mundy did anything wrong necessarily with how they were running it. I do get the impression that Aaron would like to run the department more professionally, and to have kind of a higher,
He would like
a
a
higher
paid,
standard.
he would like to have a paid,
Position.
Yeah.
department, no, he would like the department paid.
Right.
I mean,
I
His
think-
budget that he brought in is 10,000 more than the one the board is presenting. So, that's, we're not that far off, but it doesn't have an extra 100,000 in it that, I guess I don't recall that, but that's just not doable.
but I think it's going to happen.
I
Right.
would not be surprised if it doesn't, but I think it's going
Right.
to take a few years to happen, it's going to have to be.
But I think it
gradual.
would be
we're in a
reasonable to
3 or
say
4
it,
year
to say it
plan
out loud, that
for
within the next 5 years, that that's what's going to happen, because then we can plan in some way for that, and you know that those increases are coming. The other thing I wanted to say, and I'm not opposed to doubling Aaron's chief salary. I'm a little concerned about the fact that we're only paying one person. There's a deputy, I think, who's still
No.
working as a
You're
volunteer
not, you're paying, at least 7 people.
with Howard,
With the
Between these two
the
lines.
administration line, the 156, and the chief.
okay.
There's 2 different lines, the chief and admin.
So some other people are getting paid, so that's good. And then I also know that many other towns, I don't think it's a significant amount of money, but they pay people per call when they go out. And
Yep.
should we be also having a conversation about that?
Well, it sounds
You
like
know?
it's coming down the road, and I think, like you said, Aaron has said that, and I don't think Aaron's gonna have a problem standing up at town meeting and saying that. He didn't say it for this time. I don't even,
I think it's
No.
coming, I
Right.
agree with Phil, I think it's
Right.
probably
totally.
4 or 5 years, maybe 6 years out. But again, that totally changes the focus of what we have here. And the costs will escalate quite
Yeah.
a bit.
I think what Judy's trying to say is we're in a transition
Well, I just wanna be
Years
open
ago-
about the fact that we're in a transition, and to be transparent about that and say, like, these are things that
I think
we're
we're
looking
hiding
at.
anything.
Yeah, the transition
Well, I don't
happened
think
when
you're
my
hiding
kids
anything,
leave.
it's just not saying it, it's just not saying anything. It's
Yeah.
not the same as actively hiding it, but
Oh,
it's,
see, I think Aaron has made that very clear. He's come to meetings and.
but no one in
Talked
town
about
comes
it.
to these meetings.
Sorry.
Right, so people, right, but people are gonna, right, and so, but I think it would be worth, like, I don't know, we only have X number of chairs here to begin with, right? So it might be worth it, I think,
Or filled, by
to
the
just,
way.
right, but it might be worth it to just,
But what do
say,
you
like,
say,
this
I
is
mean, what
gonna
is the
go up.
suggestion, that we're gonna have a professional fire department where people are paid? I mean, what is the justification for that, right? Like, we have, most towns have volunteer fire departments, you're
Most towns
throwing
have.
out, let's put $100,000 in a budget to buy what? Like, most of the money for the fire department has been going to the fact that we have an expensive building, and we have brand new, expensive, beautiful fire trucks, we have a lot of great equipment. Okay, we can't spend the dollar only once, right? Like, you can spend it on salary, sure, but maybe we drive a 30-year-old fire truck.
Well,
Right.
right, but aren't they also gonna get a $90,000 vehicle this year from the reserve fund?
We're not sure about that yet.
So there are more, so there are more expenses.
So
I
the-
just think we should have a conversation about it.
Well,
Well, at what point
I'm
is
not
that
saying
just,
I think we
but
should
at what
be
point
Alright,
is that
putting the
justified,
money
right?
in.
It's the,
let's pass it to Phil.
I've been trying to research this for some weeks now, and my figures are imperfect, but I think they're close. Comparing Lyme, Orford, and Thetford, which are our closest towns, and adding in ambulance and emergency service, because towns keep track of things on different lines. We have Lyme spending about 7.26% on fire, ambulance, and emergency services.
Of our total budget.
Excuse me?
7.26% of our total budget.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
including
total
the
municipal
vehicles?
or both?
Yes.
Our
Or-
operating
I'm-
budget,
Just the municipal
operating.
operating budget.
right.
Got it.
Could I finish? A sentence.
Time out.
Thetford, Orford is spending about 12.86, and Thetford is spending about 10.53. Those are imperfect numbers. Gina will eventually get me the absolute perfect figures,
As I
because
sit
I
over here
can't
going,
dig deeply enough to know exactly
That's
what
right.
I'm doing. But I think we're in a transition. Thetford pays their fire chief $45,000. Orford pays the people who go out $24
$25 a call.
an hour.
No,
So-
not at
no,
all.
not an hour, a call,
A call.
when they go to all.
So local departments are all fighting this, the transition from, you had a bunch of people who lived in town, you could put together a volunteer fire department, you didn't need to pay them. But now Aaron tells us he's got 3 people other than himself that he can call on during the day. So we have to work on a transition over time to a department that's probably a chief, maybe in the $40,000 range, and some payments for people to go out on call. That's not a transition that we should make this year. That's a plan we should put together for 3 years, 4 years. Sit down with Aaron and say, let's plan it out. Where do you want to get to in 4 years? What are the steps look? And we do some long-term planning. I think we can do that.
So just, the other thing to recognize is that nobody's making their full-time job out of being on the fire department, even with a transition plan like this.
Yeah.
So ultimately, you're deciding how do we support an essentially volunteer department? $25 a call for a full-day call is not worth the
Nothing.
time.
yeah, it's also not gonna make
But-
7 or 8 extra people show up, right?
No.
Like, that's the,
So,
you know,
hold on, let me finish. Yes, you're
It
correct.
doesn't fix your problem,
Stop,
right? Like-
stop, let me finish. What I would say though is that it is not going to make people come. And in fact, most people still have to do their full-time jobs out of town. So what you do is you create a robust system where people feel supported enough that when they are able to, they respond, as opposed to going, the town doesn't care about us,
Right.
I'm not going to that call.
Right.
It's the middle of the night, it's Christmas morning, it's my kid's birthday. Or they just made me mad at town meeting last week, so I'm not going. And if you feel appreciated, you're more likely to go, even though the money is not there. You
I
know,
I
this,
also
yeah.
think it's worth asking Aaron, you know, if you're paid $40,000 or $45,000, which is, you know, he's not living on that, what amount of your full-time job are you willing to back off of to give Lyme the hours?
But, and I think the other thing that tells us though, and you heard it from Andy last week, was they feel appreciated, when you appreciate the chief who's putting in time every single day almost to do this. So, it's more just knowing that it's appreciated.
I will just say I've been through a fire department that had 3 civilians and 28 military. And that now is all civilian. And there was not a real conflict when we only had the 3 civilians at the top. The chief and 2 deputy chiefs. But as soon as we moved down to the ladder captain or the crash rescue truck driver as civilian positions, the conflict started. Because then you had the military versus civilian. And we would have, and I've heard the same thing about civilian fire departments when there are some people that are professional full-time firefighters and some people are volunteers. And some communities were large enough so they have a volunteer company like the Aetna one in Hanover, and then they have a professional count, which is the downtown fire department. And the 2 departments, even though the fire chief is in charge of both, don't work, they're different. We're not big enough to be different that way. So there's a lot of growing pains when we try to make that transition. And that transition started when Don Elder retired as fire chief. And Mike Hensley took over. Because all of a sudden, we got the professional firemen in there running the department. And the outlook toward the department changed.
I was gonna say, our fire department is very, very, very appreciated in this town.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I've never heard anybody who does not
Yeah.
appreciate them.
We also have
So
a
it doesn't
robust
take
fire
money to
department, which
appreciate.
many towns do not.
That is correct. We have a bigger fire department than Norwich, who has 10 times the population of Lyme.
And they spend $660,000 on their fire department.
And have 1/2 to 1/3 what Lyme has.
I wonder,
Dick, I have a question.
Wait,
Bill,
Dick,
Bill had a
Dick,
question that I think
Yeah.
after Bill.
Yeah, Bill.
Dina,
Does it?
what's the annual depreciation?
Pardon?
What's the annual depreciation on the fire department building and equipment? How are we
I don't know,
amortizing the
I'd have to
capital
look
cost?
at that, yeah.
Because we're spending $112,000 on operations, but surely the depreciation on the building and that equipment, whether you figure it financially or otherwise, has gotta be a huge number.
Yeah, I'll have to pull the audit out and look at
You
it.
know
I
what
have to
I'm
look at the
saying?
schedule, cause it is there.
Right.
I just don't have it off the top
But
of my head.
you think it's
Yeah.
more than 100,000?
I don't think so.
I think so, I mean, you
Oh,
you
well,
count
you just.
two
the
fire
vehicle-
trucks
vehicle-
and
Just
a,
the building?
Plus the vehicles.
No.
plus the
Oh.
vehicles,
Oh,
you
yeah.
got
You
$2
said the
million
building.
worth.
No,
That's-
I said the vehicles.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Building
Yes,
and equipment.
I
yes.
think it would be.
Yes.
We got $2 million worth
It
of
is, if it's
vehicles
I
that have been
agree.
for 20 years
On the
max.
building and that.
Yeah,
So that's $100,000 a year on vehicles.
And the building was 1.5, so yeah,
Did you
we're
wanna
there,
I
right?
did wanna say something.
Bill's trying to finish over there, guys.
So when we talk about these significant transitions, we're actually only looking at a piece of the actual cost.
Right.
And so I think that's one of my frustrations with municipal accounting,
I know.
as we talk all about the budget, but we never actually know what our real costs are.
Right.
And because there's these also, and you have, thank you for the revenue page,
Uh-huh.
that helps to understand
Right.
the offsets, but there's some stuff missing on the budget page
Well,
that we
the
don't get to
capital,
vote on.
yeah, the capital will be coming, I'm still working on it, I just got numbers from Aaron today.
No,
so
I'm not talking
that'll be
about the
good.
capital costs
okay.
per se, I'm talking about the cost that we never talk about, which is the depreciation.
Right.
The amortization of the
Right.
capital. And so we're never really looking at our total cost of operations.
You know what, we leave out the biggest expense, the roads.
Well,
Yeah.
let's,
Well,
we
those
can,
are
all-
we can,
those are all warrants,
that's
right?
another
Yeah.
category, but
We only
I just,
operate for the roads, not capital, for depreciation.
anyway, it's,
I see what you mean.
That's a good
in
question.
terms of coming back to Jennifer's question about presenting a story at town meeting, however that gets done, whether Aaron or somebody else, we're still not giving the public at the meeting our actual costs
Mhm.
Mhm.
for either highway or for
Right,
fire. Because we don't see the cost of the,
Right.
that's expensive equipment we have.
Mhm. It is,
Yeah, we have good
definitely.
equipment.
Yes, we do. So I'm just pointing that out, it's,
Okay.
there's a shadow here that we end up paying for, but we never acknowledge it when we're voting.
right.
I'd like to tag on to Bill's thought about a story for town meeting, and I wonder if saying that we either have had conversations with Aaron about this transition, or at least being able to say, we have scheduled, when things settle down, we have scheduled time to talk with Aaron about how this is gonna transition in the next year. That helps explain why we gave the number that we did to him this year, because it's part of we plan for it to be part of a larger plan.
It's not gonna happen in a year, it's gonna take several.
Certainly not, but if we put the stake in the ground now and say, yes, we're gonna have a multi-year, we're gonna build a multi-year plan to make this transition, the town is much more likely to accept whatever number we put on that line now, because it's part of the plan.
Well, there are things where we work with our neighbors. I mean, we have the only four-wheel drive pumper, but, which costs an extra $50,000 when we bought the fire truck. But that's the one that serves about 5 towns.
Yep.
It just happens to be the Lyme's #1 pumper. Hanover's the only one with a ladder truck, basically, or an aerial, call it an aerial. It serves a whole bunch of towns. So, I mean, there is some coordination between the towns on fire equipment, which is important. But I don't think we're gonna solve the fire department issue. I don't know how we're gonna get there. But it's been a transition or change over the last 20 years. It's been going, and the problem has gotten more acute, I think, each year. I think Bill would agree with me with that.
I think the other piece of that too, that I was talking about hidden costs is if we didn't have what we have, if we didn't have dry hydrants around town, if we didn't have this equipment, if we didn't have all these pieces, what would be the cost to each of us individually in our property insurance? And that's something that we don't,
Yep.
Zero,
oh no,
No.
we would see increase in our,
not individually.
we would see it, well, I would say
I don't
talk
wanna
to
call
your
and
insurance
ask.
agent.
I don't want to.
I offered-
I don't wanna give
Because there happens
ideas.
to be an insurance agent who is involved in the fire department who would argue that point, I think.
I
And I don't wanna speak
offered,
for him.
I offered 100,000 gallon dry hydrant in the swale next to my barn in exchange for insurance.
So, what I'm saying is overall, having the infrastructure that we have saves us all on our property insurance.
Because it's rated
Not
by the
because of
fire
dry
department
hydrants.
rating.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
So when our
we-
rating goes down, all our insurances go up.
Go up.
Thank
We
you,
have a municipal rating for fire service
Right.
yes,
that applies to the whole town.
yes.
And it what your rating is, there's a chart. And if you have X number of pumpers, you get so many points. And the number of points you add up to determines what your rating is. And then the insurance companies use that rating to set your insurance rates for property.
Brian said it much better than I did, but that was what
Which
I was
is why
trying to get at.
Norwich probably has a very well-funded fire department, because I imagine there is some property and houses there that needs to have a certain level of
Level.
fire department to be insured.
Yeah.
Ah.
So-
Businesses and houses.
And they don't count the number of volunteers, they count your equipment basically.
And access to water.
Yeah.
That's why we get the dry hydrants.
And, yeah. And you see Norwich's problem is they don't have any people.
Well,
Well, people are
Kristen, I
willing to do
didn't mean
this.
to argue with you, other than I did
Oh.
check that out, and I would happily have spent the money,
Right,
and then in exchange for reduced
Yeah.
insurance for the years to come.
right, I think it was Brian's point of it was a system, it wasn't just, you know, as an individual, I can do something,
Yeah.
it was the system that we had. So, no, I appreciate you.
But I know you get a rating on whether your house can be seen from a public road or not, which affects your insurance rate.
The distance to the fire department.
Length of your driveway
Yeah.
makes a big difference.
But anyway,
There's also.
all right, shall we
So-
move beyond the fire department?
Yeah, I can move beyond, I just have one more thing. So I'll bring up, I have some issues with the public health stuff, but I'll bring that up at another point. The other thing, since we're talking about volunteers and stipends, I've been sitting on this committee for 10 years and I have never seen the select board stipends go up, nor has anyone even asked or advocated for that. I wanna point that out and maybe just plant that seed for people to think about. I have absolutely no idea what the right number would be, but I would welcome some feedback on that. Another issue, and I'll-
It's 50 cents an hour.
well, that's, and
Not even.
that hour
you
thing.
know, it's like 5 cents an hour.
I'll come to the select board the next meeting, I'll try to put it on my calendar, but Phil made a public comment a few weeks ago, I think, suggesting that, you know, having 3 people on our select board at this point is incredibly taxing from a work perspective, or it seems to be, and Judy can tell me I'm wrong or Phil's
No,
wrong.
it's taxing.
And made a suggestion that maybe we should think about increasing that number to 5. And he also had the insight to suggest, I think, that it is possible that more people in town, particularly people who work, would be able to step up and serve on the select board because they would potentially actually have the time to do it, right? Because the work would be more spread out. And 5, you know, you want an odd number, 5 seems like a good step up, right, to go. So those are my other comments, and I'll come and make that comment at the select board meeting at the end of the month, but, yeah, but I just thought I'd let people know that that's something I've been thinking about.
At least
We
you
did have the selectman's salary up to 4,500 for 1 year.
Where did they spend that money? I mean, you guys are rolling.
It's extravagant, but.
So that each of us got an extra 500 a year instead of 1,000 a year.
I think we need to make sure that the select board feels appreciated too,
And then the
because I think
person
they
that-
take a lot of,
Yeah.
abuse.
And then the person that wanted that, who had more money than Judy and I put together, died, so we dropped it back down to 3.
We're penny pinchers.
More isn't always better.
You spend more in postage
Yeah,
than
I
on
mean, it's
selectmen.
just, right,
But I guess-
I'm just going to say, it's never been advocated for, I think it's difficult to, you know, to advocate for yourself like that, and it is also, you know,
Thank you, Jen.
it's also an added cost, but I think it's one that might be, it's another thing to talk about, maybe we could talk about it, not necessarily at this meeting, but offline or at the select board meeting about putting a article together or something, if people do generally agree that
I think
5
we
sounds
had-
like a good number.
I think we had 3 suggestions. One was to up the number of selectmen, which we have in the past, I think twice, taken to town meeting, it's a town meeting vote, and been defeated. And as I was thinking about that, I was thinking, you know, I'm not sure it would mean less work. I think the meetings would go longer. There's a bigger chance for discord, but I also think that everybody still has to do all the reading, all the research. The only saving would be instead of maybe each member on the select board sits on a committee. I sit on two, maybe I'd only have to sit on one, that would help. But I think you need to think about that, and people need to think about also, would we find two more people? We might, and it would be great if we could find some younger folks who might continue for a while. But the other thing was we haven't talked about it, the twice a year tax billing. And the third thing, what was the third thing? All three of the things were things that at least twice in my time on the board have come up, gone to town meeting, been roundly defeated.
Town meeting, Saturday together or
Saturday
whatever.
together, no, but there was
Not
another one that, David was saying he wanted to.
Road agent,
Oh,
No, not road agent.
that came up for about
Overseer
4
of
or 5
welfare.
times before it was
Judy,
changed.
school district and Dean is suggesting school district and town
And
meeting
town
together.
meeting on the same day,
Yeah.
yeah. The only fallback I can think of is Saturday, I mean, it would be, I think, very hard to do it on the day that we have the voting. And that's, the state requires us to have that on the second Tuesday in March, but we could try and set up for a Saturday, for school, and have a break in the middle of the day. The only time we tried that, it was disastrous, it happened to have been a really good ski day.
Yeah.
So all the parents and the kids were on the slopes, so we didn't get younger people to town meeting, and the old people, it was snowing, so they didn't come to the school meeting. It was,
We did
That
it the
doesn't
year
sound-
we had the meeting in May under the tent.
that was under the tent, that I think
COVID.
everybody.
That was a
knows.
special thing
It was
because of COVID.
but-
Yeah.
But that worked.
That did work. I can't tell you the hours it took to organize
Yeah.
that.
And it wasn't a good ski day that day.
Well, it was
wasn't-
May.
It was May.
It was
Well,
terrible.
that's my
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, but it was a special governor's
And it was-
proclamation that
Right.
allowed us to do that.
My
so-
point is you gotta set the right conditions.
Yep.
And you won't get parents on the same day as, as their
Older
kids
folks.
have,
Oh,
exactly.
and the kids are out
And
of town.
their kids are doing, it's just,
It's a really tough call, and if we could do them both when we were having the voting, but then you have to have very close control over the voting, and then you've got all these people coming and going, and everyone gets hyper.
We're not gonna have
More
the second
hyper.
Tuesday in May and
In
March, a statewide legal holiday
Well,
where the
that's,
banks, the stores, the liquor stores, the
everything is
Election
closed.
day.
closed because
Election
it
day is
was.
not a legal holiday, though.
I know, it's
No,
just-
but once
You know,
upon a time it was.
Well, yeah, it would be nice if it was, but it's not.
Yeah.
You know, our school closes now, which I
It
hope
does.
is making things
It makes it much
relatively
Yeah.
easier,
easier, I think it makes it
All
much
right.
easier, but it's,
We're starting to
Yeah,
wander and
we
it's
are.
Carry on.
starting,
I'm done.
so let's go
My
around, give us,
I principally don't have a problem or major issues with the $3.15 million municipal budget, but the one thing I will say is that, much like any.
Recording in progress.
Now you gonna record?
It's been recording,
You're
it
the
just,
star.
it just went away for a minute and now it came back.
No, I know what you're doing.
Only to you.
You can spend money only once, which you should know, is what I was going to say. And, and as we were having, so I think like I asked this question in one of the earlier meetings, right? Like, what has our tax rate increase been through the years? Because we need to look at that, because today,
We have
just
a chart
sent it
right on the
out.
webpage.
yeah, and I
Yes.
haven't looked at that chart because you
Well,
was
it was
there.
also sent out in your listserv.
It was.
That is, I do not do listserv, as that is
I'll
one of the
send it to
most
you.
polarizing social media in this town I've ever seen. No, jokes aside,
The money, the
I'm in
info.
that.
my turn to talk, people. What is going on here?
Handy. Here you go.
I know, and I also know what it shows, because I don't, you don't need to, I know what it says, right?
yes, that is good information to put out there.
Right, and so, and this goes right back to the question that we had about, right, this is not the budget that determines, like this, you know, and whether we give the fire department $100,000 more or not isn't going to materially impact people's tax rates. What we buy for equipment, right? You know, we have $3 million here. I mean, the school is gonna come in at 9 something. It's, you know, a town can invest money only, we can say, oh, we wanna invest in the school. We've done that now for decades. At what point do we say, now we wanna invest in fire department? We can't go year after year after year growing a budget out of line with CPI, which is what we've done, which is what the graph, right, shows. And that would be the only comment. I mean, like, we should all agree, you know, as a committee, that we recommend that the budget continues to grow like this because we only like wealthy people to move to this town, right? Like, you know, I'm okay with that conclusion, but I want it set in that case. Or we actually explicitly make a choice, right? I think a 5% increase, we've been crimping the municipal budget down artificially for far too many years. But how do we make sure that we are fiscally responsible people in the long run for the town of Lyme, right? That is the whole, and that is not the picture we get. So principally, you know, we can look at $30,000 here, $15,000 there, and be like, oh boy, you know, should we really spend $15,000 more on legal? Yeah, probably. If you keep on growing your tax rate 9% per year, at some point you're gonna get lawsuits, right? That is just the fact of the matter, right? It's robbing Peter to pay Paul. So that would be the only thing I would say, is that, you know, in the wider context of the budget, this is not a problem. And what it's going to do to people's tax rates, I think time has come for us to be careful. So that's my only comment on that.
I was going into the fire department, but I think we've covered pretty much most of it. I mean, just the basic thing is, you know, when you're the one who's in trouble, or one of your family members at midnight, and the page goes out, you want somebody to pick up the phone and answer and come. And I think, you know, yeah, that's emotional, but it's a realm that I see way too often. And I think you lose the fact of, or the vision of the fact that these are volunteers, you know, they're not doing this to get rich. And we're lucky to have them and that resource, and we've been chronically underfunding them for a long time, so.
We got a guy named Rich.
Yeah, we do. Unfortunately, we can't clone them, I've tried.
Your point's well taken.
Yeah.
Phil?
I've already said most of what I have to say about the fire department. I just want to respond to Vince's point. At our current state of population, housing, everything, we can raise about $13 million a year. That's about what we put together between the school and the municipal budget. And we have to decide how we spend that $13 million. And you're not gonna get much more than that unless you solve the housing crisis. Well, we all know how many years that's been going on. Either you get more businesses in line or more housing in line to raise that top line, or we're constantly in this, well, 10 million to the school and 3 million to the town, no, 4 million to the town and 9 million to the school. And I think we have to really think about housing and business as solutions to the overall budget issue, not just arguing about, you know, $15,000 here and $20,000 there. What if we could raise $20 million in the town at reasonable tax rates? What would that do for what we would be able to do for the town? Or reduce people's percentage contribution by spreading it over a little bit of a larger population. So that's all I've got to say.
Kristen?
I had a question, and it was just more curiosity. You referenced CPI when you were talking about the 5% increase, but was that what you were gauging of CPI plus a little extra because our
It's
employees?
expensive up here.
Well, no, I understand.
But the New England, for many years, we've either gone with the COLA
Mhm.
or the CPI. Usually in September, we get that number, and then we say to the department heads, here's what you should be looking at in terms of what you're budgeting. And I mentioned it because the last time I looked at it, it had gone up. Now Dick is saying it's gone back down again, but
Because it fluctuates.
The figure for social security raise is 2.7%,
Okay,
and which was the one we were using for a number of years.
yeah,
And that comes out at the end of September when they announce that
we've been
usually.
using the New England CPI for the
Yeah.
piece, the last.
Now, the
5
CPI is a totally different number
Yes, it is.
than the social security number.
right.
But the social security number is what the people that are the most dependent financially on a fixed sum.
No, I just wanted to
I
understand,
myself,
yeah.
talking to the board, and I said, you know, I don't think 2.7 or 3% is gonna give anything to anybody who needs some income.
Mhm.
Groceries have gone up, we live in an expensive area, cost of fuel has gone up, whether it's for your vehicle or for heating your house,
Mhm.
everything has gone up, and, you know, 3% is peanuts.
Mhm.
5% isn't a whole lot, but it beats 3%,
No,
and that's
I'm not
why,
arguing with it at all, I just wanted to understand
the
it.
other
So
two board
we have
members
to have the same
agreed with
discussion in
that.
our
Yeah.
board.
It's tough, you don't know what to do, and yet, last year, we did everything based on, reviews.
Mhm.
And for me, that was emotionally very difficult, because I like everybody that works for the town, I think they're good people and they work hard. This one gets 3, this one gets 2.7, this one gets 4.2. I mean, it was
Mhm.
very arbitrary, and I just want everybody to be able to live on what they make working.
Yeah, there is one thing that's, you have to look at. The town does not have a longevity raise,
Mhm.
and
No,
it does not have a step raise, which
No,
are
I
things
understand
that.
all of
wait a
that,
minute.
none of that, oh, yeah,
So
none of that was part of my
therefore,
question.
If you
I
applied
just
the
wanted to say
two
where the
point
5%
seven
came
to
from.
your base, and then still had those other ways of increasing pay, you would get a different number that could be
Right.
the
I'm not
town's.
talking about the teachers, they have a contract,
Yeah.
that's totally separate.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand where the 5% came
That's where
from,
it came from.
because I wanted to be able to, yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
totally fine, I appreciate that.
That's not limited to teachers
also-
that get longevity and step increases.
we also,
It is in the contract.
I know, but it's not limited to teachers. There are other places that operate that
we
way.
Oh, right.
also had a couple department heads ask if they could give 5% to
Mhm.
their employees, and that's where I started
Yeah.
thinking about, well, wait a minute,
Mhm.
so, yeah,
I have no problem with it, I just wanted to understand it.
there you go.
I think there's actually a couple of consensuses in the room, which is sort of a nice thing. One is that we need to, cope with the fire department as best we can. And the other is that we've been underfunding the municipal budget over time to try and keep expenses down. And we need to open that up a little bit. So it's nice to get a sense that seem to be some shared goals.
All right, does anybody have some last parting words, since we're now over my 1 hour goal for these meetings?
It's 8:17 right now. That
I'm
I'm
clock's
still
wrong.
looking at the,
Yes, so we're way over.
Way over.
I did my part.
and I think we all agree that we won't meet next week, and then the week after is Thanksgiving, we wouldn't meet, so
I'm not
I have
gonna be
3
here.
weeks
Oh my
before we meet again.
Wait, when are
Like
we
the
meeting?
3 witches in Act One,
I
Scene
think
One,
it's after,
The Wednesday after Thanksgiving?
after Thanksgiving.
December, that would be a December
December
number,
I
yeah.
do not have a meeting on December 3rd, I wrote down everything that was on the thing. I thought the next meeting was when the school budget gets presented on the 10th.
Is it the
Let
10th?
me look.
we might have,
All
Do
right.
not advance us to the 3rd, we are not ready for the 3rd.
All right, we will look forward to meeting on the 10th then.
Thank you.
And it will be the first round with the school budget. And we will come back to the selectmen's budget again when we have the warrant articles. And then we will be voting what we take to the public hearing, and hopefully we'll be able to do that in just one meeting.
I
Yes,
guess
sir,
I
yes,
better
sir.
look at the
Yeah.
calendar. I have it on the 3rd, but I'll go look
Oh,
at the
you do?
calendar. Yeah.
Maybe,
I've got,
maybe I didn't write it down. So it's
let me
possible.
see, I've got the printed copy that I sent you.
Yeah.
I don't have it neither, and I copied every meeting as well,
The
so.
schedule.
I don't always read clearly, so I
But I
appreciate
don't-
the
11/27 is
I
Thanksgiving,
don't either.
and 1/7 is discussion of the school.
But it should be.
No, that's January
That's
7th.
January.
I've got something in between
Oh,
there.
12/10 is the initial presentation of the
Right.
school.
And that's the-
That's the printed schedule.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, great.
So
All
we're,
right.
we're off until 12:10.
And you only have that meeting and that's it until January.
And that's it for this year.
Then that's it till January.
Is that
right?
enough though? Don't
God,
we
when
usually
you
have?
Yeah, it's fine.
When are you gonna,
I mean, don't we usually have another meeting
when are you gonna talk about all this?
Yes.
potentially?
Yeah,
Because they're
that
just
is-
gonna come and present their budget and we're gonna say, come back to us when you're ready to go to the public hearing?
No,
It
no, we
doesn't
come back in
sound right.
January.
January.
Come back in
January. We come back the first week in January.
I see.
Yeah.
No,
All
we
right.
never all let them.
I will accept the motion to adjourn
So
at
Moved.
Second.
8:18. Who moved?
Let Phil have it.
Phil Judy?
And